We build walls, install heavy locks, and erect iron fences for one simple reason: to keep the danger out. We work under the assumption that a threat always approaches from the outside. In 2014, a Surat residential society encountered disturbances beginning at their community's edge. Tucked along emerging lanes sat Vishnu's ground floor home. Next door lived his cousin, Arti. Across the street lived a Marathi family. These three houses formed a tight, enclosed cluster. During the peak of the Surat summer, the heat becomes unbearable. To find relief, the men and boys of the society often abandon the safety of their rooms at night to sleep on the open rooftops. That exposure led to the first anomaly. Vishnu's brother Mifun woke up at 1:30 in the morning in the grip of terrifying sleep paralysis. He felt an invisible weight crushing his chest, and a pair of hands tightening around his neck, nearly cutting off his breath. Within days, the phenomenon spread across the adjacent rooftops. Arti's daughters reported being strangled in their sleep, and shortly after, the Marathi sisters woke up to the same sensation. They sat up just in time to see a physical figure sprint past them and leap down onto the next roof. The residents retreated inside, locking their doors and windows. They believed they were finally secure, unaware that the threat had already bypassed their outer walls and was preparing to migrate downward into their private living spaces. Vishnu often studied late into the night. His room sat adjacent to a private veranda, which was protected from the street by a heavy, latticed iron gate that he checked and locked himself. One night, Vishnu found that gate standing wide open. When he tried to pull it shut, it didn't swing freely. He had to use his full strength to close it, as if a physical mass was pushing back against him from the darkness on the other side. The following night, the gate opened again. Only this time, as Vishnu retreated into his room, he witnessed a shadowy figure walk directly past him and enter the veranda's bathroom. Physical barriers were failing across the society. Vishnu's sister entered their bathroom late one night and looked up to find a man clinging to the wall like a spider. He was pressed into the corner, staring down at her in silence. Soon, the sightings coalesced into a single recurring figure, a woman in a red sari. She began appearing in the deepest parts of the homes. A neighbor named Rani entered her kitchen for a drink, only to find the woman standing right next to the counter, staring at the wall. The entity eventually targeted the society's children. A young boy named Golu wandered out to use the restroom and heard his mother calling him. When he looked for her, he found the woman in the red sari standing inches away, mimicking his mother's voice while wearing a terrifying smile. Golu was never the same after that night. His trauma highlights a grim reality for the residents. Architectural defenses are useless against a predator that does not follow the laws of physical space. With their physical locks proven ineffective, the residents turned to spiritual fortification. They brought in priests to conduct fire rituals and havans in the streets, hoping to cleanse the land of whatever was invading their homes. The confrontations grew more direct. Vishnu's uncle, while monitoring the street from a rooftop, spotted the woman in the red sari. In an instant, she rose 3 stories into the air, levitating from the street level to the roof to stand directly in front of him. The entity tracked those who tried to fight it. When the uncle fled to a hotel 40 kilometers away, he was woken by a woman's voice outside his door, pleading for help. When he refused to open it, the voice turned demonic. Looking through the window, he saw the figure had twisted, backward-facing legs. Even the professionals were not safe. Ravikant, a master exorcist summoned to clear the society, never reached his destination. While traveling to the site, he was killed in a sudden, violent traffic accident. The society eventually reached a breaking point. A young resident named Saroj was stalked down the main road, fainted at her doorstep, and was subsequently possessed. Her health and mind deteriorated until her death shortly after. The haunting had evolved from nighttime disturbances into a lethal presence. One by one, the residents realized they could no longer live there. Vishnu's family and many of their neighbors abandoned their homes entirely. Years later, Vishnu sought to understand what had poisoned his neighborhood. He eventually found a priest who had lived on that exact plot of land 30 years prior, long before the houses were built. The priest explained that decades before the society existed, this plot of land sat at the center of the 2002 Gujarat riots. It was the site of extreme, unchecked violence. One specific crime poisoned the ground. A newlywed couple from Uttar Pradesh had just moved into the neighborhood when a mob attacked. The husband was murdered, and the wife, who would become the woman in the red sari, was assaulted and burned alive. These entities are the victims of that massacre, traumatized souls trapped in the exact location of their deaths, unable to move on from the site of their agony. We hold the deeds to our properties and trust the architecture of our walls, but we cannot easily erase what happened on the ground beneath them. History, no matter how deeply buried, has